Oh, speaking of which, if Ravenous isn't here, go subscribe to Ravenous. He has really good information and he knows all his stuff.
Alright, time for more news again. In this video, we get some information about the Deinosuchus, bleed, and venom. We get an Oviraptor stream from Bryan, where he rigged and prepped it for animation, and we get a Dondi stream with some really good information. Let's get to it. And now for the dev stream from Dondi. Apparently Dondi hates having to listen to himself, so he wanted me to either subtitle or narrate the footage myself, so I agreed, and that means no sassy Dondi for you guys and you're stuck with me. Sorry. To start off, I've chopped this up and reorganized a little to keep the topics more or less coherent rather than chronological, so here goes. DM4 did some really cool stuff with the scenting, on his own. No more blue blobs, and it changes based on how hungry or thirsty you are. Yellow is obviously footsteps, rivers and larger bodies of water will give off blue scent particles, and DM4 will adjust this to where the hungrier or thirstier you are, the more rapid and obvious the effect will be, and the team will also blend in range and your specific dino's ability to scent to this. A T-Rex will be flooded with this stuff, and Raptors will have a much shorter range, but will still have all the details. The effect is made out of bubbles at the moment, but it will be custom made. Different types of plants is a part of the very important nutrition system. For the launch of Avrima, there will be at least 2 types of plants, where one of them is a generic food plant and the other is a sort of buff plant, as a placeholder. Or if we're lucky, we might get the core of the nutrition system implemented in a sort of testing stage, but that all depends on QA's feedback. This big rock is a mineral rock, basically a big salt lick, and its function in the game will be to help with digestive problems if you get sick or if you overeat. And it will be possible to overeat, but there will be a buffer so you won't vomit if you take one more bite than your maximum food pool can hold. But if you do overeat, you will vomit and will lose a certain percentage of hunger, thirst, and stamina for a temporary amount of time, because being sick is simply bad. There will be rotten foods and poisonous plants that certain dinos can eat, and there will be certain effects of venom that the team wants to make your dinosaur sick if pulled off properly. Dinosaur has gotten a wide variety of attacks, including slamming its tail down, which is also directional, and will stun whatever is attacking you. Ignore the fire breathing on the Tenanto, it's just a test of a particle or effect emitter. The kick is a very different attack though, which has quite a short range and is intended to make riding its tail a dangerous prospect. Frontal attacks consists of the standard bite and the claw swipes. Controls for the extra attacks will be put in today. The tail does not have physics blending on yet, which is why it seems so flexible from side to side when turning. There's also a new version of the Raptor Pounce. Dondi mentioned the Pounce having a crouch buff of some sort, but that is as of yet not in game. But Felipe has added in aiming the Pounce based on the angle of the camera. The leap itself is currently way too slow. The Tenanto Dondi pounced here is stuck in an animation loop, which is why it's not pounceable. But you can jump and then pounce. Or drop down on prey and pounce them while falling. It's apparently not set up in the test level, but when you kill things of a certain size, the prey will auto-transfer to your mouth, meaning that a Tenanto herd protecting a baby will not be able to camp the carcass as it will auto-transfer to your mouth and let you run off with it. An adult Utah will also be able to pin smaller Utahs and young Tenantos and completely ruin their day. Dondi seems to be very excited about Tenanto and Utah being fleshed out to the degree that they currently are. Most of what remains to do on them is squashing bugs and polish. Once that's ironed out, they will be looking at another large global system after the initial release, They might be able to get it in before the release, but if they do, it won't be to the full extent that they want. But that system is the bleeding aspect of tracking and hunting. Once that's done, they will pretty quickly move on to the next animal. Hypno and QA will sit down with Dondi to iron out the balance to where it feels fun, and that will be the base of what will release, and adjustments might be made based on what the exceptionally skilled players are capable of pulling off, rather than the average. Bryan pitched having thermal uplifts for flyers to be able to glide through and get lift without using stamina. The effect will not be visible to terrestrial dinosaurs, but Dondi did not specify if they will be for flyers or not. Dondi stated that temperature is not going to be a big thing in the future. They will not be making a tundra biome or similar, so he's not worrying about that. Dondi said that he knows for a fact they need to implement the fish in order to have players be able to play as Deinosuchus, as the Utah's pounce is the groundwork for Dino's death roll and Allo's grapple. Once they have the fish in, Dondi is pretty excited to have a giant supergator, and he wants to make Dino about 15% larger than the one he showed here. Dondi's goal for Deinosuchus was to have them be able to comfortably snatch Diabloceratops from the bank of the water, but he thinks that might be a tad too large. Here's Dondi comparing sizes between Utah, Tenanto, and Dino after adjusting Utah to where it should be. As you can see, grazing is in, so large herbivores won't starve out in the middle of fields anymore. But it doesn't add anything if you have any meaningful amount of food already though. Dondi's example was that grazing will get you up to something like 10%. He also said that you will have to get food because having low hunger and low water adversely affects everything your dino does, including growth, stamina costs when you do things, and the amount of damage you put out. So if you're AFKing or barely scraping by, best of luck. He also mentions that the swamp isn't really all that scary until you realize that Tenanto has to eat plants that grow out in the middle of it. But on the bright side, you can wallow in the mud. He also shows more of the swamps to let us have an understanding of how they work. There will be places where it's really obvious that you can just walk through, and there will be places just deep enough for something awful to hang out in it. You could find a safe route through, or you could just splash into the deep end. And by the deep end, he means really deep, so you'll never know what might be lurking down there. Dondi also talked briefly about the benefits of wallowing in mud, and said that it will prevent certain scent-related things from happening, and they will be adding in little things your dino will want to do, like rubbing against trees, wallowing in mud, ceratopsians scratching their horns against trees, and things of that nature. Little tiny things your dino will want to do, that you don't have to do, but would give you nominal boosts to whatever your dino is doing. Little things like that make your dinosaur happy, and by keeping it happy, everything goes smoother for you, growing faster, stamina, and so on. Encouraging players to do this stuff without punishing them far too severely if they don't. So, to quote Dondi, "Hey, it's not like wallow in this fucking mud or get stressed out and have a heart attack." He also said that they are looking into adding shared emotes, like dinosaurs affectionately pressing their heads together, one leaning on the other, or posture fighting animations like packies headbutting each other without anyone taking damage, strictly for vanity. Other examples he mentioned were Rex laying around with its jaws open and having birds fly in and pick scraps out of its teeth, and preening. Now, unfortunately, Ikenema will not be making it into the initial release, because Ikenema was impossible to get a hold of after they got bought by Apple. So the team looked at alternatives, but Ikenema is now back. They have contacted the team, and Dondi wants to go with them, rather than having to settle for something other than what he wants for IK. Lastly, Dondi wanted to tell us all this stuff because he wants to temper expectations for when Oviraptor comes out in June. We will find a lot of stuff that QA didn't. They want to fix and make sure that they have the first systems in place before introducing and piling on even more issues on top of the first ones. They intend to release each feature one by one and dinosaurs along with them. The team currently has a pool of dinosaurs that are in air quotes done, that have no place in the roadmap currently. These dinosaurs will be released either for ecosystem reasons, or by way of posting a large-scale community vote for which one of them to add next, in part because this was not done the first time. That's all I had for this one, but I'll be back with more as soon as I can. Thank you so much to all of my Patreons, you guys are incredible. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.